Welcome to the ultimate highlight reel of the U.S. congressional hearing with the titans of artificial intelligence, OpenAI, Microsoft, AMD, and CoreWeave. We've distilled over 3 hours of testimony, debate, and insight down to under 45 minutes, focusing on the moments that will shape the future of technology, jobs, and global competition. These are the key points you can't afford to miss. Let's dive into the pivotal decisions and bold predictions that will determine who leads the AI race and what it means for all of us.
Good morning. The Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation is called to order. Welcome to our witnesses. Thank you for joining us this morning. In the last 2 years, AI has brought the United States and the world to a critical inflection point. AI may be a technology as transformative as the internet, or even more so. It has unleashed a new global industrial revolution with the potential to unlock opportunities that improve our quality of life, create jobs, and stimulate economic growth. The country that leads in AI will shape the 21st century global order. As a matter of economic security, as a matter of national security, America has to beat China in the AI race. China has made AI central to its national strategy, and China aims to lead the world in AI by 2030, investing heavily in AI adoption across industries like manufacturing and defense. In this race, the United States is facing a fork in the road. Do we go down the path that embraces our history of entrepreneurial freedom and technological innovation, or do we adopt the command and control policies of Europe? I would suggest that Congress draw on the lessons we can learn from the dawn of the internet. In the early 1990s, Washington embraced the internet and explicitly adopted a style of regulation that was intentionally and decisively light touch. Congress chose to deregulate under the Telecommunications Act of 1996, while President Clinton pursued tariff agreements and treaties that protected America's intellectual property and technological exports. Further, in 1998, Congress enacted a 10-year internet tax moratorium so that state laws wouldn't balkanize and stymie the promise of e-commerce. The results of these decisions were extraordinary.
I made a lot of money.
By 2000, the United States has recorded 5 straight years of historic highs in productivity gains and investment growth. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs were created, and the United States became a top tech exporter with massive sums of private investment pouring into the U.S. digital economy. By contrast, EU countries pursued a series of heavy-handed regulations that proved enormously costly. In 1993, the United States and Europe had economies virtually identical in size. Today, the American economy is more than 50% larger than Europe's. If you could turn on the volume.
Sorry about that.
And I do enjoy telling techies how to operate the tech.
Pretty embarrassing that I couldn't figure that out. Anyway, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member Cantwell. Thank you all senators and fellow panelists. It's a real honor to be here. I was here about 2 years ago. And at that time, ChatGPT had recently launched. It was a curiosity in the world. People weren't sure what it was going to mean, what it was going to be used for. Today, we've made significant progress. ChatGPT is used by more than 500 million people a week. I just saw yesterday that, according to SimilarWeb, it's now the 5th biggest website on the internet globally, growing very quickly. But most of all, it's being used in really important ways. It's significantly increasing productivity. We hear scientists say they're 2 or 3 times more productive than they could be before. We hear people that are getting medical advice or learning in ways they couldn't before. And it's really, it's no longer this thing that was going to come in the future, but it's here now, and people are really using it. We're very proud to be one of the leaders of this. We're very proud that America is leading in AI so significantly. And I think that's critical. What Senator Cruz said about the importance of innovation in America and that we have what happened with the internet, we have happen again. I believe this will be at least as big as the internet, maybe bigger. That needs to happen. For that to happen, investment in infrastructure is critical. I believe the next decade will be about abundant intelligence and abundant energy, making sure that America leads in both of those, that we are able to usher in these dual revolutions that will change the world we live in, I think in incredibly positive ways, is critical. I got to go to Abilene, Texas yesterday, where we're building out what will be the largest AI training facility in the world. It's coming along beautifully, super exciting to see. We need a lot more of that. There's a whole sort of AI factory, like a supply chain of energy chips, standing up data centers, building the racks and more. We've got to do that really well in the US so that we can continue to innovate, continue to lead, and continue to sort of shape this revolution. Speaking of that, I was very inspired by what Chairman Cruz said, so I'd like to deviate from script here and tell a story. In my prepared written testimony, I covered the basics, so if it's okay, I'd love to tell you a story. I grew up in St. Louis, and I was a computer nerd, and it was the time of the internet boom, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. We kind of lived in this beautiful old brick house in this suburb of St. Louis, and I lived in the attic, and I had this computer, and I would stay up all night, and I would learn to program, and I got to kind of use the internet, and it was like a crazy time of tons of innovation. All sorts of stuff was happening. It was amazing, and it was all happening here. All the internet companies were in the US. I used a Mac that was built here. I used chips that were started, near where I now live. And I learned about computers. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I can draw a straight line from that experience to founding OpenAI and getting to work on companies like Helion. The spirit of American innovation and support of entrepreneurship. I don't think the internet could have happened anywhere else, and if that didn't happen, I don't think the AI revolution would have happened here. I am a child of the internet revolution. I have the great honor to be one of the parents of the many parents of the AI revolution, and I think it is no accident that that's happening in America again and again and again. But we need to make sure that we build our systems and that we set our policy in a way where that continues to happen. I think this is magic. I don't want to live in Europe either. I think America is just an incredible and special thing, and it will not only be the place where the AI revolution happens, but all the revolutions after. I was home visiting St. Louis recently, drove by our old house, and I kind of it was at night, and I looked up, and in that top floor window, the light was on, and I thought, hopefully there's some kid in there staying up late at night playing with ChatGPT, figuring out how he or she is going to start whatever company comes next, and whatever the next thing is after AI will happen here too. That is to me the magic of this country. It's incredibly personally important, and I hope it keeps going. Thank you very much for having me.
Ranking Member Cantwell, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Let me just build on what my three colleagues have said and offer a few thoughts. The first is I just wanted to refer to the chart on this easel that shows the AI tech stack that was also in my written testimony. It makes a simple but I think important point. We're all in this together. If the United States is going to succeed in leading the world in AI, it requires infrastructure, it requires success at the platform level, it requires people who create applications. Interestingly, we at Microsoft get to work with all three of these leaders and their companies. Our success, each of our success, depends on each other's success. And what's true of the four of us is true when you look across the country and around the world at open source developers, people who are building power plants, electricians and pipe fitters who are going to work every single day. So what do we need from the Congress and the country in order to succeed? I think it's three things. I described them in my written testimony. First, as Chairman Cruz said, we need innovation. Innovation will go faster with, as Sam said, more infrastructure, faster permitting, more electricians. We need more innovation fueled, as Ranking Member Cantwell said, by support from our universities and the federal agencies that support basic research across the country, one of this country's crown jewels. We also need, as Chairman Cruz said, faster adoption, what people refer to as AI diffusion. The ability to put AI to work across every part of the American economy to boost productivity, to boost economic growth, to enable people to innovate in their work. And the number one ingredient for that, history shows time and time again, is skilling, investing in education. And finally, we need to export. If America is going to lead the world, we need to connect with the world. We need to remember, I believe always, that as a country, only 4.5% of the world's people live in the United States of America. Our global leadership relies on our ability to serve the world with the right approach to export controls, and always, especially in technology, in our ability to sustain the trust of the rest of the world.
You need support from our government, but you also need the government to stay out of your way so you can innovate and win this race. How do we incentivize companies to do business here in America to make sure we win this race in America and America leads? Not just China, but other non-state actors too. I mean, I think that the scariest thing about AI from a capability standpoint is it doesn't have to be a state actor to win this race. It's not like nuclear energy, it's not like space technology. I mean, a non-state actor could just as easily win this race and wield more power than anyone else. So how do we encourage innovators, investment to happen here in America to ensure we win this race? Mr. Allman, you want to start?
We were honored to announce back in January Project Stargate, a $500 billion investment in United States infrastructure. That is now well underway, as I mentioned, getting to see it yesterday in Abilene. The first site was incredible. We need a lot more of that. We need certainty on the ability to build out this entire supply chain, build the data centers, permit the electricity. We'd love to bring chip production here, network production here, server rack production here. And I think the world does want to invest. We have a lot of global investment flowing into the US to do this. We also want to make sure that other countries are able to build with our technology, use our models, and sort of like be in our orbit and you know, use US diffusion of technology here. So that's really important. We need to make sure that the highest skilled researchers that want to come work at US companies can come here and do that. We need to make sure that companies like OpenAI and others have legal clarity on how we're going to operate. Of course, there will be rules. Of course, there need to be some guardrails. This is a very impactful technology, but we need to be able to be competitive globally. We need to be able to train. We need to be able to understand how we're going to offer services and sort of where the rules of the road are going to be. So clarity there, and I think an approach like the internet, which did lead to flourishing of this country in a very big way, we need that again.
So what can we do? How can we work together to protect children?
We've talked a lot about some of the things we're doing here. We're trying to learn the lessons of previous generation, and you know that's kind of the way it goes. People make mistakes, and you do it better next time. One thing we say a lot internally is we want to treat our adult users like adults. We want to give them a lot of flexibility. We want to let them use the service with a lot of freedom. And for children, there needs to be a much higher level of protection, which means the service won't do things that they might want. Now, we're still early, so sometimes people say, oh, you're being too strict on the rules, and it's just, we can't perfectly like tell this, but if we could draw a line, and if we knew for sure when a user was a child or an adult, we would allow adults to be much more permissive, and we'd have tighter rules for children. On the whole, AI hallucinations are getting much better. We have not solved the problem entirely yet, but we've made pretty remarkable progress over the last few years. When we first launched ChatGPT, it would hallucinate things all the time. This idea of robustness, being sure you can trust the information. We've made huge progress there. We cite sources. The models have gotten much smarter. A lot of people use these systems all the time, and we were worried that if it was not 0.0% accurate, which is still a challenge with these systems, it would cause a bunch of problems. But users are smart. People understand, what these systems are good at, when to use them, when not. And as that robustness increases, which it will continue to do, people will use it for more and more things.